Your mind is not just a place of thoughts, it's the command center of your life. And when it's overwhelmed, polluted, and overfed with chaos, you can't think clearly, you can't act freely, and most importantly, you can't become who you were meant to be. Mental detox is not about escaping life, it's about returning to yourself. It's not about silence alone, it's about clarity. It's not about avoiding pressure, it's about reclaiming power. This audiobook is not just a guide, it's a cleansing journey, a step-by-step renewal. Chapter by chapter, we will pull out the noise, the habits, the patterns that no longer serve you, and make room for peace, power, and purpose. If you're tired of overthinking, if you're drained from carrying thoughts that don't belong to you, if your creativity is buried under stress, this journey is for you. Subscribe, lock in, and allow this process to transform not just your thoughts, but your entire reality. Chapter 1. Mental clutter is silent poison. There are wounds that don't bleed, and there are toxins that don't show up on a lab test. Some of the most dangerous things you carry are invisible, not in your body, but in your mind. Thoughts, doubts, memories, regrets, expectations, self-criticism. Silent but constant, heavy but familiar, and over time, this clutter becomes your prison. You wake up and immediately your mind starts running. Did I forget something? I need to reply to that message. What if I'm falling behind? Why didn't I do more yesterday? The moment your eyes open, it's not peace you meet, it's pressure, noise. And that noise follows you throughout the day. Even when it's quiet outside, your mind keeps talking. Overthinking, replaying, planning, judging, measuring. It never rests. You never rest. That's mental clutter. And like physical clutter, it slowly robs you of space, of clarity, of oxygen. You can't move freely. You can't think creatively. You can't feel deeply, because your mental space is filled with everything except what matters. But it doesn't happen all at once. It builds, quietly. It starts with a few extra responsibilities you say yes to, even when you're drained. It continues with a handful of small regrets you never process. It grows with endless information you consume, but never digest. Add in social media, unrealistic expectations, unsaid words, unresolved emotions, and now your mind is not just busy, it's buried. You start to live in reaction, not in rhythm. You don't choose how to feel anymore. You just respond. You react to emails, to headlines, to likes, to opinions. And while doing all that, you slowly disconnect from yourself. That's how mental clutter becomes dangerous. It doesn't just make you distracted, it makes you forget who you are. You start becoming what you consume. You start reflecting what you fear. You start performing instead of living. You smile, but inside, you feel drained. You keep going, but everything feels heavy. People think you're fine, but you know you're just functioning, not thriving. And it's not because you're weak, it's because you've been carrying too much for too long. There's no reset button for the mind, but there is a cleansing process, a detox. And it doesn't start with removing the thoughts. It starts with creating space to feel them, name them, challenge them, and release them. Detoxing your mind doesn't mean avoiding life. It means organizing your inner world so you can face life from a place of power, not chaos. It means becoming intentional about what you allow in. It means noticing when your thoughts are not your own. It means setting boundaries, not just with people, but with distractions. It means choosing stillness, so your soul can speak louder than your stress. And here's the truth. You can't add clarity to a cluttered mind. You have to subtract first. You have to remove what no longer serves you. The outdated stories, the constant comparisons, the pressure to always be productive, the guilt of resting, The need to respond to everything, all of it has to go. Only then can your thoughts breathe again. Only then can your mind become a place of peace instead of pressure. This isn't about perfection. This is about permission. The permission to not carry everything. It's okay to turn the volume down. It's okay to step away from the noise. It's okay to say, I need space. Because clarity isn't found in the middle of more. It's found in the pause, in the breath, in the reset. Think of your mind like a room. If every corner is filled, if every surface is stacked, if every drawer is stuffed, you can't function. You can't find what you need. You trip, you fall, you waste time. You feel overwhelmed just walking in. Now imagine clearing that space. Slowly, gently. One thought at a time, one expectation at a time, one layer at a time, and with every removal, your peace expands. Your mind breathes, your energy returns, and most importantly, you begin to feel like you again. Because under the clutter, under the constant pressure, under the performance, there is still a clear, focused, powerful you. You haven't lost yourself. You've just been buried under too much. This chapter, this book, this journey is about digging out. It's about choosing simplicity in a world addicted to complexity. It's about making space in your head so you can finally hear your heart. It's not quick, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Because when you detox your mind, you don't just feel better, you become better. You begin to think clearly. You begin to speak with purpose. You begin to move with peace. And that's where transformation begins, not in doing more, but in carrying less. Chapter 2. Recognizing toxic thought patterns. Before you can clean the mind, you have to see what's contaminating it. And the most dangerous toxins aren't always loud. They don't scream. They don't come labeled. Sometimes, they sound like your own voice, your own beliefs, your own logic. That's what makes them so powerful and so hard to detect. Toxic thought patterns are silent saboteurs. They don't just affect how you think, they affect how you live, how you move, how you love, how you see yourself and others. They shape your mood, your decisions, your energy. And the worst part, you can carry them for years without even knowing. Let's take a breath here. Because this isn't about blame. This is about awareness. Most of your thinking patterns weren't chosen. They were programmed. From childhood, from trauma, from your environment, from your culture, from small moments that left big scars, and you never got the chance to stop and say, wait, is this thought helping me or hurting me? That's what we're doing now. This is the chapter where you turn on the light. It starts with noticing, not fixing, not judging. Just notice. You wake up and immediately feel dread. Why? You make a small mistake and spiral into shame. Why? You hesitate before trying something new. Why? That hesitation, that resistance, that self-sabotage, it all begins with a thought, a pattern, and that pattern has power only when it hides. Bring it into the open, and it starts to lose control. Let's look at a few of the most common toxic patterns, not in a checklist way, but in a lived, emotional way. You'll recognize them, not just in definition, but in how they feel inside your body. Overthinking, not reflection, not planning, but endless looping. Replaying past conversations, obsessing over what might go wrong. Creating stories that haven't happened. It feels like your brain is on fire, but your body can't move. Overthinking isn't wisdom. It's fear wearing a mask, and it never leads to clarity. It leads to paralysis, all or nothing thinking. I have to be perfect, or I've failed. If this one thing goes wrong, it ruins everything. This mindset creates pressure you can't sustain. You start a new habit, miss a day, and suddenly you feel like you have to start from zero. So you stop trying. You quit, not because you're lazy, but because the standard was unrealistic from the beginning. Negative filtering. You get 5 compliments and 1 criticism. Guess which one you replay all night? You forget the wins. You magnify the setbacks. You don't see things as they are. You see them through a lens shaped by insecurity, and even the good moments feel dull, because your mind refuses to let you hold joy. Mind reading and assumptions. They probably think I'm stupid. I bet they didn't reply because they're mad at me. You start writing stories about other people's behavior. But those stories aren't based on fact. They're based on fear. And before you know it, your relationships suffer, not because of truth, but because of imagined rejection. Should statements. I should be further by now. I should always feel motivated. I should never make mistakes. These thoughts sound responsible, but they are filled with shame. They create invisible prisons where you are never good enough, no matter what you do. And every time you fail to meet these shoulds, your self-worth takes another hit. Catastrophizing. One small problem becomes the end of everything. You're 5 minutes late, and your mind says, you're irresponsible. You get one piece of bad news, and suddenly everything feels doomed. This isn't just anxiety, it's exaggeration. It hijacks your nervous system, and it turns manageable stress into emotional drowning. Personalization. Something goes wrong, and it must be your fault. Someone's upset, and you assume it's because of you. This kind of thinking forces you to carry weight that doesn't belong to you. It makes you feel guilty for things beyond your control, and that guilt piles up until your confidence can't breathe. If any of these feel familiar, you're not broken. You're human. And you're not alone. We've all been there. These patterns form not because you're weak, but because your mind was trying to protect you. Somewhere along the line, these thoughts helped you survive, stay safe, avoid pain. But now they're no longer serving you. Now they're holding you back. And that's where the detox begins. Not with forcing positivity, not with suppressing emotion, but with gentle, honest recognition. This thought is not the truth. It's a pattern. This fear is not my identity. It's a memory. This reaction is not a flaw. It's a signal. You can't clean what you can't see, and now you're seeing it. That's progress. Awareness is the first filter, and once you see the pattern, you can pause, you can challenge it, you can replace it. Not overnight, but gradually, repeatedly, intentionally. Detoxing your mind is not about emptying your head. It's about removing the poisoned thoughts and replacing them with thoughts that breathe, thoughts that ground, thoughts that build. It's about learning to trust yourself again, to hear your own voice above the noise, to respond to life instead of reacting to fear. And it begins here, right now, with the decision to no longer believe every thought your mind throws at you. Your mind is a tool, not a master. And when you take back that control, everything begins to shift. Chapter 3. Unplugging from mental overstimulation. Your mind wasn't built for this. Not for this much input, not for this much noise, not for this much pressure, comparison, reaction, speed. Every second, something new is calling for your attention, and most of the time your brain responds before you even notice. Ping, scroll, switch, consume, react, repeat. Overstimulation has become normal, but it's not natural. This constant input creates chaos, not clarity. Your thoughts no longer have time to settle. Your emotions pile up without being processed. You don't get to finish one idea before 5 more arrive. There is no mental stillness, just motion, just reaction. The human brain is designed to process, not to absorb endlessly, but today it's being flooded. Emails, notifications, updates, ads, opinions, short videos, breaking news, emotional headlines, and it doesn't stop. Not when you wake up, not before you sleep. The world lives in your pocket, and it's always yelling. And it's costing you more than you realize. Your body begins to hold that tension, because when your mind is overstimulated, Your nervous system can't tell the difference between actual stress and artificial noise. Everything becomes a threat. You feel restless, unsettled, tired, but wired. You struggle to focus, to create, to enjoy silence. You scroll for hours, but feel more disconnected than ever. You consume more than you can emotionally digest, and it becomes overwhelming, not just mentally, but physically. Your chest tightens, your sleep becomes shallow, your breath shortens, your patience fades, and you forget what it feels like to be still inside. But here's the truth. Overstimulation is not strength, it's sabotage. And if you want to detox your mind, you must unplug. This is not your fault. It's a system designed to keep you distracted, to keep you plugged in, to keep you consuming. Because the longer you stay stimulated, the more you ignore your inner world, the more you disconnect from yourself, and the more you need external validation to feel alive. Unplugging is not easy, especially when you've trained your brain to be busy all the time. At first, the silence feels uncomfortable, even scary. You'll want to reach for your phone. You'll feel like you're missing out. You'll hear your thoughts louder than before, and that's part of the process. Because for the first time in a long time, you're hearing yourself again. That doesn't mean disappearing from the world. It means reclaiming your attention. It means teaching your mind how to be still again, how to rest, how to breathe without being pulled in 100 directions. Just you, not the noise, not the agenda, not the pressure. And in that silence, something begins to heal. Your mind needs the same. You start noticing what you've been avoiding, the thoughts you've been suppressing, the emotions you've numbed with stimulation. And though it feels messy at first, it's necessary, because you can't clean a room without uncovering the dust. It needs time away from constant input. And when you practice unplugging, even for small moments each day, something shifts. It needs boredom, stillness, nature, eye contact, long breaths, long thoughts, unfinished conversations, moments of silence that don't need to be filled, walks with no destination, sitting in your room with nothing playing, letting your brain settle like a snow globe, slowly finding clarity in the stillness. These are not luxuries, they are lifelines. More grounded, you become more present, more creative. Unplugging is not about rejecting the world. It's about choosing how much of it you let in, because your brain is no longer overwhelmed. It's regulated, aligned, clear, more aware. You just need to return to yourself. It's about boundaries, about discipline, about deciding that your peace is more valuable than being updated every second. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to react to everything. You don't need to consume everything. That's where the detox happens. In the pause. In the space between, even for 1 hour, even for 10 minutes. And most importantly, you'll begin to think clearly again. You'll begin to feel again, remember again, create again, rest again. And you'll notice something beautiful. When your mind quiets, your soul speaks louder. Let the light back in, because mental overstimulation is like fog. But silence is sunlight. Unplug, reset, breathe. Chapter 4. Reclaiming your inner voice. There was a time when you knew what you wanted. A time when your instincts were louder than your insecurities, when your choices weren't filtered through fear, when your voice, your true, raw, authentic voice, guided you. But over time, that voice got buried, drowned, covered under layers of noise, pressure, and opinions that never belonged to you. And now it whispers. If at all, that voice, the one that once knew what was right for you, isn't gone. It's just been silenced. Silenced by expectation, by overthinking, by a world that constantly tells you who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to look, what success should feel like, and what your worth depends on. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began to trust everything outside yourself more than the voice within. You began to ask everyone else what you should do. You began to seek permission for things your soul already knew. You began to second-guess your yes. You began to apologize for your no. You began to shrink, to shapeshift, to play roles, to perform, until you didn't even recognize the sound of your own inner truth. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is what happens when you survive too long in an environment that rewards silence over honesty. But now it's time to come back. Reclaiming your inner voice is not about becoming loud. It's about becoming real again. It's not about shouting. It's about remembering. Because the truth is, your inner voice was never wrong. It was just overridden. Every time you ignored your gut to please someone else. Every time you said yes when everything inside screamed no. Every time you dismissed your restlessness as irrational. Every time you dismissed your restlessness as irrational. Those weren't mistakes. They were signals. And your voice? It was trying to save you. Now it's time to listen again. But here's the truth. Reclaiming your inner voice won't happen in noise. It won't come through more advice, more input, more podcasts, more self-help checklists. It comes through silence, through stillness, through slowing down long enough to ask, what am I really feeling right now? What's actually mine, and what have I absorbed from everyone else? You might feel resistance. That's okay. The first thing you'll hear when you listen inside isn't always clarity. Sometimes it's pain. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's grief. Because your voice hasn't been allowed to speak for a long time. It may be shaky, unsure, messy, but let it speak anyway. Let it rise, one whisper at a time. Let it say what's been waiting to be said. You don't need to be perfect to start listening. You just need to be present. Sit with yourself, without performance, without pretending, without productivity, and ask, what part of me has been silent for too long? The answers won't always come quickly. Your inner voice doesn't shout, it waits. But when you honor it, when you stop running from it, when you create space for it, something sacred begins to happen. You begin to feel like yourself again. Not the version of you who's always available. Not the one who fits in. Not the one who keeps the peace at the cost of her own. But the real you. The one who knows what she needs. The one who speaks with conviction. The one who lives from alignment, not approval. Reclaiming your voice means you begin to trust your body again. Your rhythm. Your timing. Your intuition. You stop apologizing for needing rest. You stop explaining why you're not available for certain people anymore. You stop shrinking your joy because someone else might feel small. You stop editing your truth just to stay liked. And slowly, your voice comes back stronger. You begin to speak up in rooms you once stayed silent in. You begin to set boundaries without guilt. You begin to say no without explanation. You begin to say yes without needing permission. And most importantly, you begin to live from a place that no longer needs outside validation to feel valuable. That is power. That is healing. That is you, fully present in your own life. And here's what they don't tell you. Once your voice comes back, some things will fall apart. Some people won't recognize you. Some relationships may shift. But don't panic. That's not loss. That's alignment. Because the people who truly belong in your life won't be threatened by your voice. They'll celebrate it. They'll honor it. They'll rise with it. You're not too much. You're just no longer hiding. You're not selfish. You're just finally listening. You're not changing. You're returning to yourself. And that's the most powerful thing you can ever do. So if you feel that whisper, if you feel the quiet inner tug, it's time. Time to unplug from the world long enough to hear yourself again. Time to sit with your truth, no matter how unfamiliar it feels. Time to let go of the need to be understood and embrace the need to be whole. Because your voice is your compass. And when you follow it, you don't just detox your mind. You reclaim your life. Chapter 5. Letting go of the need to always be productive. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that your value depends on what you produce, that your worth is measured in hours worked, tasks completed, goals achieved. That rest is laziness, that stillness is failure, that doing nothing means you're falling behind. And so you started running. Not because you wanted to, but because you felt like you had to. Every morning, you wake up with a silent checklist already in your head. Before you even breathe deeply, your mind asks, what needs to be done today? How much can I finish? Who's waiting on me? What will they think if I slow down? You don't drink your coffee in peace. You drink it while opening emails. You don't walk anymore. You rush. Even when you sit, your body is tense, ready to respond, ready to work, ready to prove. You check your phone every 5 minutes, not because anything important is happening, but because your nervous system doesn't know how to be still anymore. And what started as a drive to do your best has slowly turned into an addiction to achievement, an addiction to constant doing. But let's pause. Let's ask the question no one asks. What is it costing you? Because this obsession with being productive all the time, it comes at a price. You stop hearing yourself. You stop feeling joy unless it's attached to output. You stop resting unless it's earned. You feel guilty for slowing down, for doing nothing, for just being. And that guilt isn't natural. It was taught, conditioned. The world doesn't celebrate stillness. It celebrates hustle. It praises the one who's always busy. It romanticizes burnout like a badge of honor. But here's the truth no one tells you. Constant productivity is not progress, it's pressure, and it's slowly killing your clarity. Your creativity doesn't thrive in exhaustion. Your peace doesn't grow in pressure. Your mind cannot detox while you're running at full speed. You need stillness. You need space. Not as a reward, but as a right. Letting go of the need to always be productive doesn't mean you're giving up on excellence. It means you're choosing sustainability over sacrifice. It means you're done tying your worth to your work. It means you're ready to exist, not just perform. The mind doesn't detox in chaos. It detoxes in pause, in quiet, in allowing yourself to not be useful for a while. That might sound radical, especially if your identity has been wrapped around output for years, but it's necessary. Because your nervous system was not designed for 24/7 urgency. It was designed for rhythm. Breath in, breath out. Work, rest, focus, reset. That's not laziness. That's just balance. And when you return to that rhythm, you realize something sacred. You are not a machine. You are not a factory. You are a living being. And rest is not optional for you. It's required. True productivity comes from wholeness, and you cannot be whole when you are constantly depleted. So let's talk about permission. The permission to slow down. The permission to say, that's enough for today. The permission to take a nap without guilt. The permission to go for a walk and not check your phone. The permission to rest, not because you've earned it, but because you're human. You are not lazy when you rest. You are not wasting time when you breathe. You are not unworthy when you do less. You are healing. You are resetting. You are reclaiming your mind. This is how the detox deepens, not just by removing negative thoughts, but by removing the toxic belief that you must always be achieving something to matter. You don't. Your value was never based on your productivity. It was based on your presence, your capacity to love, to connect, to create from rest, not stress. So from this day forward, begin rewriting the script in your mind. I am enough, even when I'm not producing. I can rest without apology. My worth is not attached to my output. Say it, repeat it, live it. And when the world tries to rush you again, tries to guilt you back into performance, pause and remember, your mind is sacred ground, and you are no longer available for the noise that says you must earn your existence. Let go. Breathe deeper. Step back into peace. You're not falling behind. You're finally catching up to yourself. Chapter 6. The Digital Detox. Reclaiming Focus in a Distracted World. Everywhere you go, something is begging for your attention. A notification, a buzz, a ping, a new message, a headline, a trending sound, a viral video, a red badge on your screen. It never stops. And somewhere between all that noise, you start to forget what silence even feels like. Your phone is the last thing you look at before you sleep, and the first thing you grab when you wake up. You reach for it when you're bored, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, even when you're happy. It's no longer just a device. It's become your escape, your comfort, your routine. And slowly, your cage. This is not about blame. This is about reclaiming what belongs to you, your focus, your presence, your clarity. Because the truth is, you weren't designed to live this way. You weren't created to process hundreds of pieces of information per hour. You weren't made to multitask across platforms while trying to stay present in your real life. Your mind needs depth. But you're drowning in speed. Think about it. When was the last time you watched a sunset without trying to capture it? When was the last time you had a conversation without your phone on the table? When was the last time you sat with your thoughts without trying to distract yourself? This isn't just a tech problem, this is a soul problem. Digital overstimulation is robbing you of your ability to think clearly, to connect deeply, to focus for more than a few minutes at a time. It's not just ruining your attention span, it's quietly poisoning your creativity, your emotional regulation, and your ability to sit with discomfort long enough to grow. And yet we call it normal. We joke about screen addiction. We celebrate productivity apps while never actually slowing down. We scroll endlessly, numbing ourselves with information we'll forget in minutes. We fill every quiet moment with noise. But detox begins when you realize that every moment of silence doesn't have to be filled. Every pause doesn't need to be plugged with a screen, and every spare second doesn't have to be productive. When you unplug digitally, you plug back into something deeper, your life. But let's be honest, unplugging isn't easy. It exposes everything you've been avoiding. The anxiety you suppress by scrolling, the boredom you mask with videos, the sadness you soften with constant input. The digital world gives you a shield. But that shield comes at a cost. The cost is disconnection from yourself. You stop noticing how you feel. You stop processing your emotions. You stop hearing your own voice. You live in reaction mode. You respond, scroll, comment, like, reply, but you rarely pause long enough to ask, do I even want this? The detox starts with space, with boundaries, with honesty. You don't have to throw your phone away. You don't have to disappear, but you do have to take back control. Start with 1 hour a day, 1 walk without your phone, 1 meal without a screen, 1 evening where you don't check your inbox. Then stretch it. A full morning, a full Sunday, a weekend away from social apps. At first you'll feel withdrawal. That's normal. Your brain is detoxing from dopamine overload. It's rewiring. You'll reach for your phone out of habit. You'll feel anxious in the silence. But stay there. Stay in the pause. Let your nervous system reset. Let your thoughts settle. Let your attention come home. And soon, something amazing happens. You start feeling present again. You'll notice small things again. You hear real laughter again. You read slowly again. You breathe deeper again. And you begin to remember. Life isn't inside a screen. It's here, right in front of you. In your relationships, in your conversations, in your walks, in your thoughts, in your moments of doing absolutely nothing but being. You were never meant to consume this much content. You were meant to create, to connect, to be curious, to go deep, not just wide. So as you detox your mind, ask yourself, where is my attention going? What am I letting into my head? Who's shaping my beliefs every day? You don't have to delete everything. You just have to decide that you deserve more than noise, more than comparison, more than distraction. You deserve peace. And that peace is not something you find on a screen. It's something you create with space, with silence, with discipline. So log out, turn off notifications, delete the apps for a while if you have to. Choose presence over performance. Choose depth over dopamine. Choose to remember what it feels like to live in your own mind without being overwhelmed by everyone else's. Because when you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your power. And in that space, in that stillness, in that silence, your clarity comes rushing back. Chapter 7. Healing emotional fatigue. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, a heaviness that rest days can't lift. You take breaks, but you don't feel better. You wake up, but you still feel drained. And when people ask how you're doing, you smile and say, "I'm fine." But inside, something feels off, like you're carrying too much for too long. That's not laziness. That's not weakness. That's emotional fatigue. It builds slowly, layer by layer, wound by wound, disappointment by disappointment. And before you know it, you're walking through life like a shell of who you used to be. You're functioning, but not feeling. Present, but not connected. Surrounded, but deeply alone. Emotional fatigue is what happens when your mind and heart have been in survival mode for too long. When you've been strong for everyone else, but ignored your own needs. When you've bottled pain instead of processing it. When you've pushed forward instead of pausing to heal. And the worst part? You get used to it. You normalize the numbness. You adjust to the exhaustion. You convince yourself this is just how life feels now. But it doesn't have to be. Healing emotional fatigue starts with recognition. With honesty. With being willing to say, "I'm not okay," and I'm allowed to admit that. You don't have to collapse to take a break. You don't have to hit rock bottom to seek healing. You don't have to keep pretending just to be accepted. You are allowed to feel empty. You are allowed to feel frustrated. You are allowed to feel like you're carrying too much, even if the world doesn't understand why. Because your pain is real. Your exhaustion is valid. And your healing matters. So how do you begin? You begin by softening. By no longer forcing yourself to be okay. By no longer measuring your worth through your performance. By treating yourself the way you'd treat a friend who's clearly falling apart inside. You give yourself permission to stop, to feel, to cry, to lay down what you've been holding, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You don't need to have all the answers to start healing. You just need to stop lying to yourself about how fine you are. Sometimes healing begins not with fixing, but with feeling. Let the tears come. Let the anger rise. Let the silence stretch. Because under all the emotion is a truth waiting to be heard. A truth that says, you've been through more than you've acknowledged. You've survived more than you've processed. You've carried more than you were meant to. And now, it's time to release. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't have to rush your healing. You just have to create space for it. Step back from the noise. Turn off the pressure. Disconnect from the expectations. And listen to what your heart has been whispering through all the chaos. I need care. I need rest. I need time. Emotional fatigue doesn't heal through motivation. It heals through compassion. Gentle, patient, consistent compassion. So be kind to yourself. Speak to yourself with softness. Move slower. Say no more often. Say yes to things that feed your soul, not just your to-do list. Let go of the guilt that comes with resting. Let go of the shame that says you should be stronger. Let go of the inner critic that won't allow you to breathe. You are not behind. You are healing. And healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel powerful. Other days you'll feel broken. That's okay. Progress is not perfection. It's present. And the more present you are with your pain, the more space you create for peace. This chapter of your life is not about pushing harder. It's about honoring what's been pushed too far. It's about being brave enough to rest. Brave enough to feel. brave enough to stop performing and start being again. You are not meant to be exhausted all the time. You are not meant to carry everything alone. You are not meant to numb your emotions to function in this world. You are meant to heal, to breathe, to return to yourself. And the beautiful thing is, you can, even if it's slow, even if it's quiet, even if no one else sees it. You'll know. You'll feel the shift. From tension to calm, from survival to living, from fatigue to flow. And that shift will be your greatest success, not something to post about, not something to prove, but something you feel deeply in your body. A quiet victory. The moment you say, I'm tired, but I'm healing. Chapter 8. Creating mental space through simplicity. Your mind is not tired because it's weak. It's tired because it's full, overcrowded, overfed, overstimulated. You're not struggling because you lack discipline. You're struggling because you're drowning in decisions, opinions, clutter, and noise. And the antidote to this kind of heaviness isn't more effort. It's simplicity. Mental clarity doesn't come from adding. It comes from subtracting, from removing the non-essential, from cutting what no longer serves, from releasing what was never yours to carry. Simplicity isn't the absence of depth. It's the foundation of depth. You can't think clearly if your thoughts are always fighting for space. You can't feel peace if your mind is stretched in 20 different directions. And you can't be present if your brain is constantly managing unmade decisions, scattered priorities, and emotional leftovers. So where do you start? You start with one question. What can I let go of? What thought? What task? What expectation? What belief? What responsibility that was handed to you but never meant for you? Mental clutter often begins with unspoken pressure to always be available, to always say yes, to always prove your worth, to always meet invisible standards you didn't even choose. And when your life is built on that kind of pressure, you lose space for what truly matters, your peace, your creativity, your calm. But simplicity gives it back to you. When you simplify, you take control. You say no. You slow down. You pause. You remove the need to do everything, be everywhere, please everyone. And in that subtraction, your soul can finally breathe. You don't need to chase minimalism for aesthetics. You need simplicity for survival, for restoration, for peace of mind. Maybe your calendar is full, but your heart is empty. Maybe your inbox is checked, but your spirit is exhausted. Maybe your home is clean, but your thoughts are a mess. Then it's time to simplify. Not just your schedule, but your inner life. Look at your routines. Are they nourishing you or draining you? Look at your conversations. Are they filling your soul or cluttering your mind? Look at your commitments. Are they in alignment with your values, or are they just inherited obligations? Simplicity is not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It's about clearing space so the things that truly matter can rise to the surface. When your mind is full of unnecessary tasks, you forget what your real mission is. When your day is filled with distractions, you lose your connection to depth. And when your attention is constantly hijacked, you live a reactive life instead of a reflective one. Mental space is not a luxury. It's a requirement. You don't think clearly in chaos. You don't grow in clutter. You don't heal in noise. That's why you have to choose. Choose to own your attention. Choose to protect your peace. Choose to say no to good things so you have room for great things. Simplicity is an act of rebellion in a world that profits from your distraction. They want you overwhelmed, because when you're overwhelmed, you don't challenge anything. You just obey. You consume more. You compare more. You believe you're not enough, so you keep buying, scrolling, working, chasing. But when you simplify, you wake up. You realize, I don't need all of this. Not every app, not every opinion, not every opportunity, not every invitation, not every relationship. You need space, room to hear your own thoughts, room to feel your own feelings, room to remember what matters, room to become who you were before the world started telling you who to be. This is not about emptiness. This is about intentionality. You don't need more in your life. You need more meaning in what's already there. That comes when you strip away the noise and return to the essentials: time, presence, breath, connection, grace. So start where you are. Remove one thing, one habit, one thought pattern, one toxic obligation. Clear one corner of your day, and in that space, breathe. Because that breath is the beginning of something beautiful. A life that's not built on overwhelm, but alignment. A mind that's not crammed with chaos, but filled with clarity. And a soul that's not overworked, but fully alive. You don't need to do it all. You don't need to own it all. You don't need to hold it all. Let go. Simplify. And finally make space to simply be. Chapter 9. The Power of Stillness in Mental Detox. We've been taught to move, to act, to chase, to achieve. From the moment we're old enough to understand time, we're told to make the most of it. Don't waste a second. Stay busy. Keep going. Stay productive. The world celebrates the ones who never stop, but no one teaches the value of stopping, of being still, of listening to the silence, not as absence, but as wisdom. Stillness is not idleness. It's not laziness. It's not giving up. Stillness is awareness. It's a reset. It's a return. Your mind, like your body, needs rest. But not just the rest of sleep. It needs conscious stillness, the kind where nothing is demanded from you, no goal, no response, no productivity, just space. Space to let your thoughts breathe. Space to let your emotions settle. Space to let your nervous system return to balance. And yet, most people fear stillness, because in the quiet, there is nowhere to hide. There are no distractions to protect you from the thoughts you've buried, no movement to cover the discomfort you've avoided. Stillness reveals the truth, and truth can be uncomfortable, but truth also heals. When you finally sit with yourself, truly sit, without reaching for your phone, without making a list, without trying to be useful, you begin to hear your inner world again. You hear your stress. You hear your sadness. You hear your dreams. You hear your pain. And most importantly, you hear yourself. That self beneath the layers, beneath the noise, beneath the pressure. That self is not broken, not confused, not chaotic. That self is clear. That self is grounded. That self is quietly waiting for you to return. And you return through stillness. Just like a storm settles once the winds die down, your thoughts settle when you stop running. And in that stillness, your body releases what it's been holding. The shoulders drop, the breath slows, the heart stops racing, and something sacred happens. You begin to exist, not as a performer, not as a responder, but as a being. Pure presence. No filter, no role. Just now. That's where healing begins. And that's why stillness is powerful. Stillness detoxes the mind, not by adding clarity, but by making room for it. It doesn't fix everything, but it creates space for the healing to begin. You can't pour water into a shaking glass and expect it to hold. The same is true for your mind. You can't expect insight, focus, or peace when your thoughts are spinning. Stillness stills the glass. And then, and only then, can something meaningful be poured in. In practical life, stillness doesn't require a retreat. It can be 5 minutes in the morning with your eyes closed. It can be sitting outside and watching the wind touch the trees. It can be turning off all noise and simply breathing. It can be saying no to one more obligation, so your soul has a moment to breathe. It's not about escaping life. It's about returning to it, fully, slowly, truthfully. Because the mind that is constantly stimulated forgets how to feel, and a mind that forgets how to feel becomes numb. And in numbness, we lose our compass. But stillness brings you home. Stillness reminds you that your worth was never in your pace. Stillness gives you back your center. Stillness doesn't give you answers. It reveals that maybe you already had them, but they were drowned out by noise, buried beneath schedules, lost in performance. When you create moments of stillness, you're not abandoning life. You're anchoring yourself to live it better, more clearly, more deeply, more consciously. And no, the world won't always understand. People may say you're being lazy, that you should be doing more. But they don't know what you're reclaiming. They don't understand that your stillness is not a pause, it's a power move. Because in a world spinning faster every day, the most radical thing you can do is sit still and feel your own presence. That's how you detox. That's how you heal. That's how you rise, not louder, but deeper. Let stillness teach you what noise never could. Let stillness become your practice. Not just once a year, but every day, even for a moment. Because that moment may be the only place where you meet your true self. And when you meet that self fully, honestly, without the filter of the world, everything begins to change. Not outside, but within. Chapter 10. The mental weight of unfinished business. There are things you didn't finish, conversations you didn't complete, promises you broke to yourself, ideas that never became action, words that were meant to be said, but you swallowed them, tasks that were started with fire and then left in the cold, decisions you postponed until tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. And they didn't just disappear. They stayed, they lingered, in your thoughts, in your nervous system, in your breath. Unfinished business doesn't leave quietly. It hides in corners of your mind, waiting for your attention, and the longer you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. Every tab you leave open in your browser slows the system. Your brain is no different. Every mental tab, every open loop, every half-made decision, every silent resentment takes up space. And that space is not infinite. Eventually your mind starts glitching. You forget things. You feel overwhelmed. You become reactive. You lose clarity. And most dangerously, you begin to believe you're the problem. But you're not the problem. The weight is. And that weight comes from things left hanging. Mental clutter isn't always external. Sometimes it's internal chaos. You keep running, working, achieving, but you never pause long enough to ask, what am I still carrying that I never finished? It could be small, that email you never replied to, that errand you never ran, that bill you never paid. But your mind remembers even if you don't. It could be big. That decision you've been avoiding, that relationship you never got closure from, that dream you started but abandoned halfway through. Every one of these creates residue, unseen, but deeply felt. And the longer they linger, the more you numb. Because if you don't numb, you feel the tension, the pressure of what's undone. So instead, you avoid, you distract, you overcompensate. But avoidance is not rest, and distraction is not relief. The mind doesn't heal by forgetting, it heals by completion. Completion doesn't always mean finishing everything. It means releasing the hold it has over you. It means closing the tab, not necessarily reading every page. Sometimes that means doing the thing. Sometimes it means deciding not to. But either way, it means making peace with it. Peace is not the absence of work, it's the absence of mental noise, and unfinished business is noisy. It speaks in quiet ways, through anxiety, restlessness, tension, procrastination. You say you're tired, but maybe you're not physically tired. You're tired of carrying invisible things, tired of looping the same thought, tired of repeating the same guilt, tired of not knowing why you can't focus, can't rest, can't feel present. This is the cost of unfinished business. And detoxing your mind means facing it. Not all at once, but one piece at a time. What's still open? What are you still holding? What do you keep revisiting in your thoughts, but never resolve? Make a list, not to finish everything, but to see clearly, because clarity is the first step to release. You can't let go of what you won't name, and once you name it, you take its power back. Maybe it's time to send that message. Maybe it's time to make that decision. Maybe it's time to delete that draft. Maybe it's time to grieve that version of yourself you never got to become. This is the real detox. It's not aesthetic. It's emotional, spiritual, invisible to the world, but deeply felt inside. And it frees you. When you begin closing mental loops, you begin restoring capacity. Suddenly, you can breathe deeper, focus longer, love softer, live lighter. Your mind stops running. Your soul stops bracing, because you've honored what was incomplete. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to stop carrying what no longer needs to be held. Some things will never be finished the way you imagined. That's okay. Completion doesn't mean perfection. It means peace. It means I've made peace with what is. I've accepted the imperfect ending. I've stopped waiting for closure from people who will never give it. I've chosen to complete this in my own heart. That's what creates space. That's what clears the mind. That's what heals the spirit. When you let go of unfinished business, not by abandoning it, but by completing it with intention, you make room for new things to begin. Lighter, clearer, aligned, because you are no longer tangled in the past. You are present, finally, here, now. Chapter 11. Your mind becomes what you feed it. Your mind is not a vault. It doesn't just store things, it transforms them. It absorbs, adapts, reacts, evolves. Every word you hear, every image you see, every thought you allow, every voice you listen to. It becomes a part of you. Your mind is fertile ground. Whatever you plant, it grows. If you feed it drama, it grows restlessness. If you feed it fear, it grows anxiety. If you feed it doubt, it grows hesitation. If you feed it negativity, it grows despair. If you feed it discipline, it grows direction. But if you feed it peace, it grows clarity. They think they're just killing time. Most people live in reaction. They don't even realize what they're feeding themselves. The endless scroll, the complaints, the opinions, the judgments, the noise. If you feed it truth, it grows strength. But they're not killing time. Time is killing them, because their mind is being slowly poisoned, one distraction at a time. And the mind has no firewall. It takes in what it's given, until you become intentional. Mental detox begins when you recognize that your environment is not neutral. Nothing you consume is neutral. Every piece of content, every conversation, every song, every word has weight. It either lifts or lowers, sharpens or dulls, heals or harms. That's where change begins. What are you feeding your mind every day? The first step isn't to add more. It's to subtract. Whose voices dominate your inner space? What news is shaping your view of the world? What shows are numbing your emotions? What platforms are dictating your self-worth? What conversations are stealing your energy? You become what you dwell on. And most importantly, what thoughts are you repeating that you never chose? And over time, your mind starts wearing the clothes of everything it's been fed. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens silently. You begin thinking like the content you consume. You start speaking the language of those you surround yourself with. So the question is not, why do I feel this way? You reflect the energy you repeatedly expose yourself to. The question is, what have I been feeding myself? Clarity begins when you start curating your mental diet, like you curate your physical one. Just like you can't eat junk and expect energy, you can't feed your mind garbage and expect peace. A single toxic headline in the morning can shift your mood for the day. A short scroll through negativity can destroy your motivation. A few careless words from someone you let too close can derail your purpose. But the same is true in reverse. A 10-minute walk in silence can clear your head. A single truth-filled sentence can rewire your confidence. A conversation with someone deeply grounded can remind you who you are. A few pages of an honest book can bring you back to your values. This is why intention is everything. Mental detox is not just about rest. It's about replacement. Replace noise with music that calms. Replace reacting with reflection. Replace gossip with silence. Replace comparison with appreciation. Replace random consumption with conscious selection. And when you do, your mind responds. It softens. It strengthens. It steadies. Your thoughts slow down. You stop feeling like you're constantly behind. Your breathing deepens. Because now, you're not just surviving. You're choosing. You're nourishing. This is where sovereignty begins. I can unfollow. The moment you realize, I don't have to let everything in. I can unsubscribe. I can say no. I can choose what gets to live in my head. That's a powerful shift. Because once you do that, everything else begins to align. Your focus sharpens. Your mood stabilizes. Your resilience returns. Because now your energy is not being spent cleaning up mental mess, it's being directed toward creation. Creation of a better life, a better you, a better future. And it starts with something as simple as, what am I feeding my mind today? Be ruthless about it. Because your peace is priceless. And peace only lives in a nourished mind. You don't need more information, not a flooded one, curated, filtered. You need better inputs, aligned with who you want to become. Your mind will believe whatever it is fed consistently, because that's the secret. Chapter 12, Cutting the Cords, Letting Go of Toxic Ties. There are relationships that feel like home, but they suffocate you. There are people you love deeply, yet they drain you. There are connections you hold on to, even when every part of your being knows they're not healthy anymore. Not all pain is worth holding on to. Sometimes, letting go is the most powerful form of healing. The truth is, not everyone is meant to go with you into your next season. Some were there to teach you something. Some were there to reveal something about yourself. Some were mirrors. Some were storms. Some were anchors. And not in a good way. And yet, you stayed. Because of loyalty. Because of shared memories. Because of fear. Because you thought love meant endurance, even if it broke you. But here's the hard truth. Love without respect is abuse in disguise, and familiarity without safety is a cage. Your mind holds on to voices, and when those voices are critical, manipulative, controlling, or dismissive, they become your own. That's how toxicity spreads. It's not just what they said. It's what you started saying to yourself after. You're not good enough. You're too much. You'll never change. You always mess things up. It starts as their voice. Then it becomes yours. And once it becomes yours, you no longer need them to hurt you. You'll hurt yourself in their place. That's why the detox begins with disconnection. You cannot heal in the same place that hurt you. And you cannot think clearly in the presence of someone who constantly distorts your reality. It's not about blaming. It's about boundaries. Not everyone who was with you in the past deserves access to your future. And the longer you delay the cut, the deeper the wound becomes. Cutting cords doesn't mean you hate them. It means you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who won't even notice you're hurt. It means you've decided to stop dancing around their silence, their judgment, their passive aggression, their entitlement. It means you're no longer asking for permission to be at peace. You're taking it back. You're reclaiming your mind from the conversations that always leave you anxious, from the texts that make your heart sink, from the silent treatments that steal your joy, from the manipulation masked as care, from the guilt trips dressed as concern. Because real love does not confuse you. It does not exhaust you. It does not make you shrink. It nourishes you. It sees you. It holds you accountable without shaming you. It protects your peace, not invades it. Cutting the cord means grieving what you thought it could have been. It means mourning the fantasy. It means accepting that your healing might make others uncomfortable and choosing to heal anyway. You might feel selfish, but peace is not selfish. And choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else is not betrayal, it's liberation. You don't need a dramatic exit. You don't need to explain everything. Sometimes the best closure is silence. Sometimes the most powerful goodbye is no longer participating in what breaks you. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline, because the mind remembers, the heart remembers, the nervous system remembers. There will be moments when you want to go back. Not because it was good, but because it was familiar. But healing is unfamiliar at first. Peace feels strange when you've been in chaos. But hold your ground. Stay with the silence. Sit in the discomfort. Because on the other side of that is freedom. Not freedom from pain, but freedom from confusion. From cycles. From pretending. From the loop that says maybe this time will be different when it never is. Cutting the cord is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's drawing the line where your dignity begins. It's saying, I will not live another day convincing someone to treat me like I matter. And when you cut that cord, something amazing happens. You begin to hear yourself again. Your own voice, your own truth, your own intuition, because they're no longer shouting over it. And slowly, you return, not as the version they wanted, but as the version you buried to please them. Stronger, wiser, quieter perhaps, but not broken. You'll still feel grief, but it will be honest grief. Grief that heals, not the grief of staying in a place that was slowly killing your soul. You are allowed to walk away, even from family, even from long-time friends, even from people who helped you once, even from lovers who don't see you anymore. You are allowed to grow beyond the circle that keeps you small. You are allowed to redefine love, one that includes you too. Cut the cord. Let it fall. Let yourself rise. And let the silence that follows be the sound of your mind beginning to breathe again. Chapter 13. The Power of Solitude in Mental Clarity. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. In a world addicted to noise, solitude is rebellion. But more than that, solitude is medicine. It's in those quiet moments, away from the crowd, away from the constant pull of opinions and updates, where you begin to hear what truly matters. Not the loudest voice, not the trendiest thought, but your own. Your real voice. Your mind needs stillness like your lungs need oxygen. Without it, everything becomes foggy. No decision feels certain. No emotion feels honest. You live in response mode, always reacting, never reflecting. But when you pull away, even for a short while, something inside begins to realign. Solitude is not isolation. Isolation is running away. Solitude is returning. You're not escaping the world. You're recharging so you can face it with clarity. But that's hard to do when solitude has been framed as loneliness. Most people avoid being alone because they're afraid of what they'll hear. They don't want to face the weight of their own thoughts. They fear the silence will expose what they've buried under busyness. But healing lives in that exposure. In solitude, you meet your truth, not your image. You come face to face with what you've been avoiding. And slowly, the noise begins to clear. You realize that half the anxiety wasn't even yours, it was absorbed. Half the pressure wasn't even real, it was projected. Half the goals weren't even yours, they were borrowed. When you sit in stillness long enough, the unnecessary starts falling away. Your mind doesn't need more content, it needs context. Solitude gives you that. It gives shape to your thoughts, it filters the noise, it sharpens the signal. Some of the best decisions you'll ever make won't come from group discussions. They'll come from walking alone, thinking quietly, listening deeply. Because in solitude, you don't need to perform. You're not trying to impress. You're not editing your words to be palatable. You're just being, and in that being, there's clarity. The clutter dissolves. Your nervous system exhales, and you begin to see the path, not from fear, but from awareness. This is why many breakthroughs happen in moments of stillness, in the shower, on a long drive, during a quiet walk at dusk. Not because those moments are magical, but because they're unburdened. Unburdened from opinions, unburdened from noise, unburdened from speed. Solitude resets the rhythm of your mind. It returns you to a pace that's natural, not pressured. And in that pace, your thinking becomes more precise. Your emotions become more manageable. Your boundaries become clearer. Because when you spend enough time with yourself, you stop being so easily shaken by the world. You stop needing approval for every move. You stop fearing judgment for every shift. You stop apologizing for your presence. Solitude builds identity. It gives you the room to remember who you are when no one is watching. And that self is often wiser, calmer, stronger than the one that performs under the spotlight. But solitude is a practice, not a retreat. You don't go there once and return transformed forever. You go again and again, to check in, to clean up, to recalibrate. Even 5 minutes of intentional silence can reset an entire day. No phone, no agenda, no outside input. Just you, your breath, and your awareness. Your mind begins to detox not when you think less, but when you think clearer. And clarity doesn't come from more effort. It comes from less friction. Solitude removes that friction. It's the pause between the noise. It's the space where healing enters, where priorities realign, where emotions settle, where truth speaks. And when you start giving yourself that space regularly, you'll notice something powerful. You become less reactive, less defensive, less drained, because your mind is no longer overfed and undernourished. It's balanced. You're not operating from pressure, you're operating from peace. And that changes everything. Because a mind that has clarity cannot be easily manipulated. A mind that has peace cannot be easily provoked. A mind that knows itself cannot be easily lost. Solitude does that. It doesn't make you less social. It makes you more whole. And when you enter the crowd again, you don't lose yourself. You carry yourself with more presence, more confidence, more calm. You're no longer just showing up. You're arriving with awareness. And that presence rooted in stillness is magnetic. Because people feel peace even before you speak. But that peace is earned in the quiet, in the alone, in the solitude. So protect it, guard it, cherish it. Not just as a luxury, but as a necessity. Not just as a break, but as a way of being. Solitude is not empty space. It's sacred ground, where you remember, restore, and rise. Let it be part of your rhythm. Let it be part of your mind's renewal. And most of all, let it be where you meet yourself, fully, honestly, and fearlessly. Chapter 14. Mental clarity begins with the body. A clouded mind is often the echo of a tired body. We often try to think our way to clarity. We analyze, overanalyze, dissect, journal, meditate, but still feel stuck, still feel foggy, still feel like something isn't clicking. But here's what we forget. Your brain is not floating in the sky. It lives in your body. And when your body is drained, your thoughts don't fly, they crawl. Your nervous system doesn't lie. If it's overwhelmed, no amount of positive thinking can override the stress signals. And if your body is tense, deprived, neglected, or overstimulated, your mind cannot process life in peace. Mental detox begins at the cellular level. Your sleep, your food, your breath, these are the real reset buttons. Just when you don't sleep well, you're not just tired, you're chemically unbalanced. Your brain's ability to filter, decide, and focus becomes fragmented. You start misreading situations. You become more reactive. Emotions that would usually pass like waves start crashing into each other, and your thoughts spiral. That's not mindset. That's physiology. Mental chaos often comes from physical neglect. And yet, we try to fight it with more thinking, more pushing, more doing. But sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap. Eat something real. Drink water before coffee. Go outside and feel sunlight on your skin without a screen in your hand. These aren't just lifestyle tips. These are foundational steps toward clearing your mind. Because a body in balance creates a mind in balance. Even your breath holds power. Slow, conscious breathing regulates the nervous system. It tells your brain, we are safe. That one message, repeated consistently, reduces anxiety, enhances focus, and even shifts your emotional response to stress. So the question isn't just, what are you thinking? It's, how are you treating the vessel that carries those thoughts? You can't expect clarity when you're surviving on junk food, little sleep, and zero movement. The brain doesn't thrive in chaos. It functions best in rhythm. Hydration sharpens memory. Movement boosts dopamine. Sunlight resets circadian rhythm. Silence calms the amygdala. But most people wait until breakdown to listen to their body. They ignore the tension. They silence the fatigue. They numb the exhaustion with caffeine, scrolling, or noise. Then wonder why they feel mentally stuck. Your body is not a machine. It's a message board. Every ache, every fatigue, every craving, it's telling you something. Not just about your body, but about your mind. If you're constantly fatigued, maybe you're carrying too much emotionally. If your digestion is off, maybe your stress levels are chronically high. If you're constantly craving sugar, maybe your soul is starved of joy. And when you begin to listen, not judge, when you begin to nourish, not punish, something beautiful happens. The fog lifts. Clarity returns. You begin to notice things you missed before. Subtle thoughts, deeper insights, intuitive signals, because your system isn't in survival anymore. It's in alignment. This is why great thinkers, artists, and sages throughout history valued physical rituals. Walking, breathing, fasting, movement. They weren't just health tips, they were tools for clarity. Your mind becomes a clearer channel when your body is tuned. And the truth is, it doesn't take massive effort. Start simple. Stretch in the morning before touching your phone. Drink a full glass of water before you caffeinate. Eat something green once a day, not for weight, but for clarity. Walk. Not to burn calories, but to reset your thoughts. Rest, not because you earned it, but because you're human. These micro shifts create macro clarity, because when your body feels safe, your mind feels safe to explore. When your body is energized, your mind is more creative. When your body is light, your thoughts feel light too. You begin to detox, not just from toxic thoughts, but from toxic habits that created those thoughts in the first place. And no, it doesn't mean you'll never feel fog again. But now you'll know where to look first. Not in the mirror, not in your inbox, but in your breath, in your rhythm, in your rituals. Your body is the foundation of your mental architecture. And the more you honor it, the more your thoughts rise with strength, clarity, and purpose. Mental clarity is not about forcing stillness. It's about creating space for it to emerge through the body, through rhythm, through presence. So the next time your mind feels heavy, don't go straight to your journal or your therapist or your feed. Check your body first and ask, did I move today? Did I nourish myself? Did I rest? Did I breathe? Because sometimes the most spiritual answer is the simplest one. Take care of your body. Your mind will thank you with silence, clarity, and focus. Chapter 15. The Daily Mind Detox Ritual. Transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in a rhythm. One choice at a time. One pause at a time. One breath at a time. You don't need a 10-day retreat to reset your mind. You need a few moments of truth every single day. Because detox is not a dramatic event. It's a quiet, consistent practice. Something you build into your morning, your night, your in-between spaces. Something small but sacred. Something that pulls you out of the noise and back into yourself. This is your daily mind detox. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. Not about having control over everything, but about reconnecting to the things you can control. Your focus, your breath, your responses. The mind collects residue, thoughts that weren't yours. expectations that weren't helpful, energy that wasn't aligned. If you don't clean it out daily, it builds up like dust in an unused room, like files in a cluttered desktop. Eventually, it slows you down. But when you reset daily, even in small ways, you begin to function from clarity, not clutter. So how do you create a ritual that truly clears the mind? It starts with simplicity. A daily detox isn't about following strict rules. It's about creating space. Space to feel. Space to reset. Space to breathe before you react. And most importantly, space to choose how you want to show up in the world. The ritual begins the night before. Your mind detox starts with sleep. Don't underestimate how much your tomorrow depends on how you end today. Shut down screens at least 30 minutes before bed, not to be productive, but to allow your nervous system to soften. Let silence be your companion, not just noise fading into the background. When you wake up, don't scroll first. Don't check messages. Don't open your inbox. Instead, return to your breath, to your body, to your own rhythm. Before the world enters you, re-enter yourself. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes. That's it. No fancy apps. No music. Just sit. Breathe. Notice what's inside. Your mind will wander. That's okay. You're not here to control thoughts. You're here to observe them. That observation, that space, is the detox. Next, move your body. Doesn't have to be a full workout. Walk, stretch, shake. Anything that reminds your system we are alive. This movement unlocks trapped emotion. It gets energy flowing. It moves thoughts out of your head and into your breath, your bones, your steps. Then hydrate. Water isn't just for the body. It wakes up the brain. Think of it as clearing mental dust. From there, enter your day intentionally. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? Not what you want to achieve, but how you want to feel. Because when your emotional tone is clear, your thoughts follow that frequency. And every few hours pause, not for long, just long enough to return. A deep breath between tasks. A moment of stillness before a difficult conversation. A glance out the window before replying to a message. These are your anchors. They keep you grounded in the middle of the storm. And when the day ends, don't carry the weight to bed. Release. Write it down. Speak it out. Walk it off. Let the thoughts come. But don't hold them. The detox isn't just about removing the bad. It's about making space for the good. Gratitude, stillness, presence, joy. You don't have to force those feelings. You just need space for them to return. And when you live this way, not just once in a while, but every day, you begin to change. Not just how you think, but how you see. You notice beauty in silence. You find wisdom in breath. You create space in chaos. And that space becomes your power. The more you live from this rhythm, the less you crave escape. Because life itself begins to feel lighter. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer overwhelmed. You are centered, clean, clear. So protect this ritual. Even when you're busy, especially when you're overwhelmed. This is not self-care. This is self-preservation. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You detox your mind so you can face life fully, so you can love deeply, so you can decide wisely, so you can live not in reaction but in creation. Your daily mind detox is a gift to yourself, to your future, to everyone around you. And it begins again tomorrow.